Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very special post 528 launch community AMA. We are really excited to be here to talk to all of you about yesterday's launches, about the DBT Fusion engine, about anything else that is on your mind. My name is Jason Ganz. I'm the Senior Manager of Developer Experience here at DBT Labs, here with Tristan Handy. Tristan, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Founder, CEO of DBT Labs.
And we are here today to answer your questions. So the first thing I'm going to say is if you have things that are on your mind, put them in chat and particularly put them in QA. We're excited to talk to you about everything DBT, particularly excited to talk about yesterday's launches and any questions that you have there, but anything is on the table. Throw it in the chat and we will get on in there. And then just one bit of guidance for the question. We're trying to get to things that are kind of relevant to a broader audience. So if you need help kind of troubleshooting a specific model or like something going on in your specific DBT project, debugging something, if you head on over to Advice DBT Help or the Topic Fusion DBT Fusion Engine channel, we can get you debugged there. And then for today, kind of anything more higher level that will be relevant to a wider scope. With that, so Tristan, we rolled out a whole bunch of announcements yesterday. The big one that I bet the group of people here are interested in is the DBT Fusion engine. You had a post about kind of why the DBT Fusion engine matters over the long term and what it means. Can you talk to that just briefly and give people a sense of that?
Yes, I can. So hey, we got Lukas. Lukas, do you need to push? Is he on stage or is he just backstage?
Hey, everyone. We do have Lukas Schulte joining us. Lucas, there he is.
Hey,
there's Lucas.
There he is.
Good morning.
Lucas hasn't slept in a couple weeks, so he's in triage mode.
There's more than one alarm clock that I slept through this morning.
we got you here now.
Lucas, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself real quick, and then we were talking about the future of Fusion.
That sounds great. Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Lucas. I think this is like my second or maybe my third one of these. I founded a company called SDF, which was then acquired by DBT. And over the last 5 months, I've been very happily working on Fusion and bringing that to fruition and really understanding, hey, not just from SDF's point of view, what were our customers looking for, but really understanding DBT even better and what DBT's user base, customer base, et cetera, we're looking for. So I'm really happy to be here. Stoked about the announcement yesterday, and I'm really looking forward to making Fusion the best possible data developer experience that we could make.
I'm excited that we've got a new candidate for an internal M&A role. Tom Abraham said, I called the SDF buyout last June. So apparently right when you announced you came out of stealth, Tom was ready.
All right. Awesome.
So let's talk about the future of Fusion and why it's such a big deal. Every product has a set of kind of technical underpinnings, and there's a lot that you can do on top of those underpinnings to extend it, to build more features, to do all kinds of different things. But there's a certain set of things that if those technical foundations don't support those things, you can't really hack it on, or at least you can't do so and leave yourself room for like continuing to be able to extend the product well in the future. And so the thing that I'm most excited about with the DBT Fusion engine is that it is like we dug all the way down to the foundations. We said that house that we built over there was amazing. It was awesome. It allowed us to, live in for 9 years. But there's certain things that house was never going to support, and we got to start a brand new foundation. And this foundation is going to support a bunch of stuff that foundation just like literally never could have done. And that is the two biggest things there are performance and SQL comprehension. And I think, unless Lukas, you tell me otherwise, but I think that all of the things that are to come built on top of the Fusion engine are in some way, shape, or form related to either raw performance or SQL comprehension. You think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's DBT started as a tool and has moved to be infrastructure, and I think that there's so much so many extensions of that infrastructure now that we see with catalog and governance, and that is sort of the direction that we wanted to take this as well.
Awesome.
Gans, how much time do you want to spend here? I mean, we could talk about the future roadmap for a long time, but
yeah, we could talk about this for ages, but we got some good questions in the chat, so why don't we dive into it? So starting us off, I'm looking, and folks, if you go and you upvote questions in the QA, that'll be helpful to rise things to the top, because I'm going to start from the top here. So up from the top, Lucy asks, what does the migration process look like from DBT Core to DBT Fusion Evolve? Are there any changes that I need to make to my existing DBT project? Lukas, you want to take this?
Sure. It depends. The answer is it depends. The goal is that over time, over the next few months, as we go through beta, then preview, and then into GA, that less and less will be required to take an existing DBT core project and migrate it to Fusion. There are some existing DBT core projects where this migration is basically zero touch today, but depending on the adapters that you're using, the number of custom macros that you're using, and some things relating to the DBT schema, you may or may not be eligible to sort of move to Fusion today. Some hard blockers as of today are things like Python models, but those are all things that we're looking to sort of support and bring into Fusion over the next months.
Thanks, Lukas. Yeah, and a couple things to add there is, so you would have noticed in DBT Core 1.10, we started adding in some deprecations, so you'll want to have your deprecations fixed. And we have a helpful tool called DBT Autofix that Benoit on the DX team put together that can take care of not the entirety of the deprecations for you, but kind of the most manual one, so it should make it a lot easier. And so as we're going through this process, first of all, definitely recommend checking out DBT Autofix. And if you run into any issues, head on over to the DBT Fusion Engine channel on the Slack, and we can work with you. Head on over to the DBT Fusion repo, and we'll work through it there. Thanks for that great question, Lucy.
I'm actually in that channel right now, the DBT Fusion Engine channel. It is very active, and there's like new stuff coming in right this minute. So it's cool to see folks using the new engine and to see everything kind of getting worked on very much in real time. It's good energy.
Yeah.
It's funny. Somebody messaged me recently saying like this is very 2017 DT energy. In 2017, lots of things didn't work, but actually that created a lot of community spirit around like, let's figure out what's not working. Let's all pitch in to help fix it together. And I find that phase of software projects a lot of fun, like very energizing.
It's been so great. Yeah, we were just hanging out on Zoom for a couple hours yesterday with some DBT Labs employees, some community members that were dropping in, and we'll be doing more things like that. So definitely, like we're excited to hang out with all of you and to work with all of you to get you migrated. Okay, next question from Peter. 2 questions regarding the VS Code extension. 1, does it require the DBT Fusion engine to work? 2, does it require DBT Cloud credentials? Does it require DBT Cloud credentials? Lukas, you want to talk about whether it requires DBT Fusion engine to work?
Yes, it does. So the VS Code extension is built on a bunch of metadata that the Fusion engine and the Fusion LSP, the language server, provide as you're developing, right? So things like IntelliSense, type ahead hints, red squiggly underlines under syntax or semantics that aren't correct. That SQL validation is powered by DBT Fusion, and therefore it requires the Fusion engine to work. The second part, there's this question around BigQuery. It's like question 1, part 2. The BigQuery adapter, I think if you look on the DBT Fusion repository, the goal is to launch that within the next 4 weeks. So it is coming very, very soon. We have a pretty aggressive adapter roadmap to get more and more adapters supported over the coming weeks here. And then the second question, does it require DBT Cloud credentials if using Core? Hopefully part 1 kind of answered this. Because it does not work with Core, you shouldn't need Cloud credentials to make it work with Core. Yeah.
You do need to register with us though for the VS Code extension.
Correct. Yeah, within 2 weeks. So you can try it out, give it a spin, go through Jaffle Shop, work with any existing project that you want. But it's registration is required after 14 days.
And
which doesn't cost anything.
Correct.
Yep. And that is for the VS Code extension. That is not for the Fusion engine. And so this is an important point of clarification that maybe Tristan, you can walk us through a bit about. There's no sign up, no need to talk to us or anything to use the Fusion engine. Is that right, Tristan?
Yeah, one of the things that it's always hard with big new product launches is that there's just, we shipped a lot of things yesterday, and maybe we could have communicated better about how they all fit together. I'm happy to take ownership for that. But it's kind of like just like a lot of new stuff very quickly, and so we saw a lot of concern about who needs to pay for what. The very short version is you do not need to pay us anything to use Fusion. You don't need to pay us anything to use the VS Code extension. There are features of DBT Cloud, the broader DBT platform that we talked about yesterday. Things like Canvas, things like state-aware orchestration, which is a capability that's built on top of Fusion. So there are commercial things that we talked about yesterday, but the Fusion engine itself and all the developer experience benefits associated with that and the VS Code extension can be used for free. The VS Code extension is limited to 15 people at your organization using it for free. Beyond that, we'd need a commercial license in place.
Awesome. Thanks for that walkthrough, Tristan. Good question from Leah there with 4 up. Oh wait, it just disappeared. Where can I get Lucas's sick DBT Fusion?
No, I want that too. Who made that?
I don't know. It just appeared at the office here in Seattle, and we all said, "Oh, this is excellent."
Well,
so, some design fairy we'll have to thank.
And hopefully Amada doesn't kill me for saying this, but we do have a DBT World Circuit coming up where we have DBT meetups across the globe where you might be able to find these depending on depending on if we can get them there in time. Certainly at a DBT meetup near you sometime in the near future is a great place if you're looking for a sick Fusion shirt. Moving on. Nick Tech, what will the roadmap look like to get custom adapters working with Fusion?
Yeah, custom adapters are super interesting, right? So DBT has over the last years fostered this large and growing community of adapters, which have their own materialization, but most of whom rely on I believe ODBC to ultimately make the connection, or the Python wrapper of this, which is PyODBC. We are looking to be able to support them. I don't have a clear roadmap for you by exactly when that will happen. I don't have a super clear roadmap of exactly when that will happen. There are some additional complexities in the Rust ecosystem to making custom adapters work, in part because everything, all the binaries are compiled. So DBT Fusion actually does a dynamic load of a pre-compiled library to get any of the drivers to load and to work. And that is a little bit different than how this works in Python, but we're hard at work trying to find a really great solution that enables easy writing of custom adapters, maybe just around the ODBC framework. But that is, it's very much on the roadmap, but I don't have a super clear timeline for exactly when that will be possible.
Lucas, is it fair to say that there's just more work involved in building a Fusion adapter than a traditional DBT core adapter, or is there the kind of like adapter that does not have SQL comprehension, and then the adapter that does have SQL, or is that not a thing?
So the way that we've looked at the adapters for DBT so far, and maybe the community thinks about this a little bit differently. We've been thinking about adapter as like the custom materialization logic, right? The Jinja macros that make that wrap SQL in statements that can be sent to a specific database type, right? And those are database specific. And then there's the driver, which actually does the management, the connection that manages authentication to a particular database. So that driver, that is actually the crux of the challenge for this, because drivers in Fusion land are dynamically loaded libraries, and that makes them incredibly performant. So ADBC is like 40 times more performant than the traditional PyODBC that sort of DBT core uses today. So you can shuffle a lot more data a lot more efficiently, but it also means that there's a little additional complexity or quite a bit of additional complexity in compiling those drivers and making sure that they can be loaded by Fusion natively.
Cool. Thanks for that. Alrighty, here's a question near and dear to my heart. How does DBT Labs envision the role of the semantic layer evolving in a world increasingly driven by AI-powered insights?
That's a good one. I don't know who asked that question, Jason.
That's from Benita Gupta in the chat.
Benita, I don't know if you were on the event yesterday, but I showed a demo of our new MCP model context protocol server. A lot of that demo was powered by the DBT semantic layer, and I think that while the semantic layer is valuable for BI tools and standardizing across multiple BI tools, it is required for agentic AI that is going to provide real governed answers to business questions. I think that it is, and that's not a particularly novel thing to say, honestly, because I think that basically every vendor in the space went from watching and waiting on the semantic layer to saying we need a semantic layer strategy, and that happened really very quickly in the kind of 23, 24 timeframe as AI was just starting to take off. So yeah, if you want to have conversational AI experience, if you want agents to be able to traverse causal relationships within your data set, you're going to need to define your business metrics and the context around them in a semantic layer that can then generate exactly correct SQL to measure those metrics.
Yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And we published some research. Man, I think it was around a year and a half ago now, showing the improvement
Oh my God,
of the semantic.
I forgot that.
Yeah,
that was great work by your team.
Yeah, it was a really cool experiment. So Juan Cicada of Data.World put out this great paper with the data set showing like here's how semantic layers and ontologies improve accuracy in natural language questions when using LLM generations. And so we went and we replicated it on the DBT semantic layer, and what we saw was a substantial increase in accuracy when using the semantic layer versus when going straight text to SQL. Now, my I think heterodox take at this point is I think people are going to be doing text to SQL as well for some use cases, right? And it's when you need it governed and fully vetted that then you'll need a semantic layer too. But that's when we're just going to have to see it play out.
Maybe we just rewrite the semantic layer in Rust at some point next. Could be a fun project.
Lucas, you don't have enough problems right now?
I could always use one.
Lucas could always use another rewrite in Rust.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me scroll through these questions. I saw a really good one here. Okay, here we have a question about Python models. What should I do with my Python models for now? Kyle asks, will Fusion support these soon or further down the road?
Lucas, you want to get into some wild future-looking shit around what we could potentially do with Python or data frames or Spark or any of this in the future?
That would be, yeah, I always love waxing poetics about future capabilities. That sounds fun. Should we talk about, yeah, okay, so there's this very interesting question around that came around like column level lineage and other like metadata generated things that Fusion could build or could make available. We could talk about Spark data frames because I think Spark is still, and Spark data frames are extremely widely used. Do we have a preference? What direction do we want to take this future looking conversation?
Well, so here's DBT's Python functionality was built in a world of solidly in a world of DBT core, and the assumption that it made was DBT does not do local processing. Period. End of story. And so one of the really great things about SQL is that all of the database providers also assume that you're not going to do local processing. So DBT interfaced with them, pushed down logic, executed it there. When you work with Python, there is kind of an expectation that your development environment is local. And so we actually waited to support Python in DBT until there was pushdown capability on all of the different platforms, the main platforms that DBT users used. And so we could continue to stick with this kind of pushdown model even for the Python world. The new world of the DBT Fusion engine does not make that same assumption about local execution. It likes the idea of local execution. Maybe we could talk about that too, and the possibility, the direction that we're going to be heading there. But that probably means that we rethink the way that we support Python. And so instead of saying, well, this Snowpark syntax look like, and what does the EMR Spark syntax look like that we would want to do with Rich, whatever. All these different like ways of supporting on the different platforms. There would just be kind of a standard Python data frame API. I don't know if we would want to pick a specific one or whatever, but we could then parse and compile that down to a logical plan in the same way that we would do for SQL.
Yeah. So there's this really interesting one of the main challenges with SQL, and I think something that like Python has solved really well, is that SQL only has column level functions. So you can't write these like bigger encapsulations of logic in SQL in the same way that you can in Python. Right? In Python, you could write a function, and in that function is some data frame transformations, and the thing that function returns is an entire table that you can ingest in some other way, right? And it's a little bit hard to do in SQL. I think DBT maybe gets it close, right, where you have a DAG of SQL statements, but data frame APIs have this lovely ability to have really simple table level functions. And I think that's something that I have wanted to see in DBT for a long time. And I think that is what maybe the most exciting part of hey, how can we enable more Pythonic functionality within DBT so that it is easier to build higher level, like multi-layer transformations that are built on table functions rather than just functions on a column level. And I think the way that we end up doing that is by expanding the technology of Fusion to also ingest a data frame API and generate the same intermediate representation that we do for Fusion today with SQL, which is a logical plan. So the way that you can think of this is, hey, all of these different SQL dialects that we're in the process of supporting generate a logical plan. We do a bunch of analyses on that logical plan, and that's great. But now the question is, can we actually extend that so that Python and Python data frames also generate that logical plan? Because if so, we actually get to run all the same static analysis, all the same validation, and bind Python and SQL together in a way that feels really natural. It's something that we sort of talked about as this like harebrained idea at SDF like a couple of years ago, and we never really got around to implementing it. But this is, I think, something that I would love to see built at DBT over the next year. If it's not Rust semantic layer, or maybe it's both, who's to say.
Okay, very awesome forward-looking stuff. Kyle wants to know what he should do with his handful of Python models, and where in the roadmap, if all.
So, Lukas, tell me if. Okay, I actually don't know the answer to this question, so I'm gonna make a guess, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think the way that I might, I would look at them in the following way. One, are those Python models able to be authored in SQL? If so, you can rewrite them in SQL and you can use them on Fusion today. Two, are they towards the end of the DAG? If they are towards the end of the DAG, you could actually pop them out into a separate DBT project and execute them the way that you've been executing them to date, and kind of orchestrate them together. Three, if they are right in the middle of the DAG and they must be executed in Python, it's probably a wait for us to ship this feature for you. Do you think that's the right way to think about that?
That's the perfect way to think about that.
We actually didn't talk about this ahead of time, so
no, this is that's exactly right. And if there's some way that we can be helpful, like a lot of the engineers on my team, on the Fusion team, are also very, very happy to talk with anybody that is trying out and using Fusion, and especially folks that have some of the more complex use cases that involve SQL models and Python models. So if they are at the end of the DAG, might be easiest to put them in a separate DBT project, rewrite them depending on the complexity. And if it is a core complex part of the inner DAG, maybe just wait for us to build, and we will try and build things very, very quickly for you.
Great. Thank you both. All right.
Jason, thank you for preventing us from getting lost in the world of the great future and being pragmatic.
We'll have to get out there, and we want to let folks know what they can expect today. All right. Speaking of today, and state-aware orchestration. So Matej in the chat is asking, how does state-aware orchestration work? I think it was mentioned. No freshness setup. Did I just misunderstand? You want to just give us a walkthrough of state-aware orchestration, how it works?
Yeah. So state-aware orchestration is something that we built at SDF and then sort of tore down, and we got to build a second version that is a lot more has a lot more out of the box functionality here with Fusion. The idea is that if comes from compilers. So the way that like incremental compilation works in Rust or in C++ is the compiler compiles individual files, and if the files haven't changed, then we can use a pre-compiled version, right? The thing that we did before in the last compile, because we know that the code hasn't changed. This is so much more complex in data, right? Because it's not just about whether the code changes, it's also about whether the data has changed or whether time has changed, right? Like, because data, you might have queries that run on an hourly basis, or that have functions in them that depend on current timestamps. So rather than having a single dimension, you have at least 3 dimensions that your DAG has to stay up to date with. And DBT has sort of traditionally solved this with source freshness and other tools that sort of let you use heuristics to figure out, hey, can we optimize the DAG here? And the idea behind state-aware orchestration is that in the cloud, we manage a cache, and that cache manages all 3 dimensions that data could be changing in, right? Whether the data has changed, whether the code has changed, or whether the time has changed enough with your configuration where there might be a delta. And given those 3 axes, those 3 pieces of information, the Fusion engine can make a decision about whether we have to run or whether we do not have to run a specific model, and we can use cached results. And this system is very, very, very clever, and it is remarkably effective at reducing cost. So that's a little, hopefully not too deep in the weeds about how this works, but it is something that I'm super excited about. It's a system that works extraordinarily well, and it's a system that is extensible to more dimensions as well, right? So you can make it column aware. There's a whole bunch of additional features that we can add to this in the future. I hope that answered the question.
I'm trying to give Jason time to actually look through questions. There's like an overwhelming number of them, which is awesome.
Yeah, there's a whole lot in there. So while I'm scrolling through, I'll just keep Lukas on the hot seat a little bit. So okay, we're saying that there's spend savings there. Not too much specifics, but do we arrange what people can expect?
It depends so heavily on how frequently your data updates and how frequently your code updates. So what we saw in some cases at SDF is that people have DAGs that where people expect dashboards to be available every hour, but data might only come in every day, right? So you're doing 24 runs for every single refresh of data, and maybe these are very slowly changing dimensions. So you're doing a ton of recomputation that is completely unnecessary. So in those cases, we've seen like extraordinary savings. And then there are more nuanced cases where if your DAG is already very, very heavily optimized and you've spent a bunch of time tuning, then there's maybe not as much juice that you can squeeze from that. During development, we saw quite a lot, because very frequently you're running in your personal environment pretty much all the same stuff except for the one particular model that you're working on. So there we see a lot of savings. So it really depends. We hope that we can always see at least 10 to 15% like optimization of query cost and query time for your data warehouse provider. And if it's more, great. And then please send me a message, because I would love to hear why this is particularly effective for you.
Awesome. Really helpful to have the additional layer of depth there. Thank you, Lucas. Okay, here, Marco has a question about the license for Fusion. And so the question, just maybe this one's for you. Regarding the license for Fusion, how do you define competitor? Is AWS a competitor because we could run Fusion on EC2? What about managed airflow, e.g. Astronomer? So can you talk about competitor versus managed service and kind of what is and isn't allowed with the under ELv2?
So the important thing here is not competitor. The important thing is competitive service. So I don't have the license text in front of me exactly, but I think it's something like a substantial subset of the features of the product. If you can't provide a substantial subset of the features of the product in your own managed service. And so the point there is there are a lot of people in the world who use dbt to power their products, but their products are not selling data infrastructure. Their products are like real estate analytics or whatever, like things powered by the dbt, the data that dbt generates. And so the things that those companies are selling are not a subset of the features of the product. When you get into the space of companies that are using dbt not to sell real estate analytics or whatever else, but they are using dbt code to sell a data infrastructure product, that is when the elastic license comes into play and says that's not permissive, or it's not permitted use. That is one of the that is the main difference from our perspective between the elastic license and the Apache 2 licenses. The stance on how much competition it allows using the code that we build. One of the interesting things here is that there are always different dynamics in open source communities. I think the dbt core, it's a Python-based project. There have been lots and lots of contributors over the years. The set of users and the set of contributors is not that overlapping, but it is somewhat overlapping. Users really do make contributions to core. With the Fusion engine, the overlap between the contributors and users we anticipate being fairly small. The skill sets required to work on the Rust code base are pretty different than the skill sets required to do like most data engineering work. And so this is really, this is not what I would consider to be a code base that is kind of like collectively maintained by a large community. It's really a code base that we are investing lots and lots of resources into. And so we want to make sure that we are preserving space for ourselves to build a business on top of it as well.
Great. Thanks, Tristan. Lucas, any thoughts before we move on?
No, I think I agree with what Tristan said. I think there's Python is so easy to work with and integrate, and I think Rust, especially large Rust projects, there is a complexity to getting involved there, which is a little bit unfortunate. I think it's actually something that we're going to try and improve over time, right? By breaking bigger crates into smaller crates, into individual components that people can help add to and be very involved in. But it is a higher barrier to entry than I think to adding on to the Python code base, unfortunately. Yeah.
I do need to say, if you're looking for lower barrier of entry ways to get involved, you can make a DBT package. You can, and someone just called this out in the chat, you can contribute to the MCP server, which is honestly like one of the highest leverage things you can do right now. There's so much green space in the MCP server and so many cool things to do. So definitely, if you were a real Rust head, go and check out the DBT Fusion repo. The Antler grammar stuff really cool. But also, if you're not and you're looking for cool things to do, plenty of other opportunities there. Alrighty. Andrew Lee is asking, so it feels like Canvas, data governance, and catalog show that DBT data platform is investing in other parts of the pipeline that I imagine customers have other tools to solve for. It sounds like efforts to consolidate within tools. If other applications are doing the same thing, what is DBT's perspective on how a customer should consider apps that start to build out the same functionality? For example, at your company, we have like 3 separate tools to tell you lineage. Why DBT?
Tristan, you want to talk about this?
Yeah. My goal has always been, well, since maybe let's call it 2020, my goal has been to create an ecosystem in data that feels similar to the Apple ecosystem. This is like not a novel thing to say anymore, but it was maybe a little bit more novel back when I started using Macs in 1992. But I've always been like tremendously impressed with the level of integration inside the Apple ecosystem. My favorite example is like when you get a new iPhone, you like hold your new phone to your old phone and they like kiss, and then your data flows and it just works. And I really believe that there is an unbelievable amount of duct tape and bullshit in much of data engineering today, and it actually doesn't help literally anyone. And what I would like is a data ecosystem where you actually focused on solving problems that your business cares about and not on duct taping a bunch of systems together. My goal then is to say, when you step into the DBT ecosystem, if you adopt the opinions of the DBT ecosystem, you like adopt the development tooling, everything just kind of works. And you can see that show up in really the entire DBT platform, whether you're doing orchestration or catalog or observability or whatever. It doesn't require duct tape. It all just kind of works together seamlessly. And yes, I also completely admit that today, every one of those products is not as complete as a product that would be kind of standalone in that category. For instance, I really want significantly more integration coverage for DBT catalog. Like, I think that would make me just unbelievably happy. But we will get there. We have expanded the footprint of every one of these products since the day that we've launched them, and I'm very, very confident that the future will see all of this come to pass. So that's my short answer. This is not a vision that we are like alone in. You can see really all of the bigger players in data today trying to build end-to-end platforms that encompass many of the workflows that you would want to do with data. Our belief is that what you really want is you want a data platform that is independent from your underlying cloud data warehouse, data lake. Because inevitably you will have good reasons to choose multiple of those, and you need this tooling that can span all of them.
Great. Yeah, I think that speaks to it super well. Definitely follow up in chat if there's more questions here. I want to get to this one from Borja because it's important. Over the last few months, we saw contributions being merged to dbt core / adapters slowed down because dbt Labs was focused on dbt Fusion. How can we reduce the friction on the long term now that dbt might move to a support state? So Tristan, before we answer Borja's direct question, can you talk a little bit about the future of dbt core and what we talked about in our roadmap post yesterday?
Yeah, is that me or is that Lucas? I'm happy
That's
to.
you.
Okay, great. So I would not have used these words even 6 months ago, but the wise folks here, very much including Ganz and Jeremy and Grace, have gotten me to think in these terms. The way that we have come to think about this is that dbt is really two things. It's a language, and it is an engine. And the language is the specification for what dbt code looks like, what it does, what you can actually write as a dbt developer. And the engine is what actually, like, the technology that lives under the surface and can parse, compile, execute that code. The Fusion engine implements, or is working its way towards complete implementation of the dbt language authoring spec, and dbt core by definition has implemented the entire authoring spec to date. Moving forwards, we're going to continue to make progress on the actual language, the authoring layer, and the two engines will implement those features to the best of their ability. So there's some capabilities that will show up identically in both engines, and there's some capabilities that will show up in a kind of lightweight version in dbt core, and will show in a more complete version in the Fusion engine. And that's just because Fusion has technical capabilities that core simply doesn't have. So Grace and Jeremy's post is a better place to go get into like the specifics around individual features that we have mapped out for the language over the coming 6 months. But that's overall kind of how we're thinking about it.
Awesome. Great overview. Thank you. And then into the specific of Borja's question around community contributions and how we're going to reduce this friction over the long term.
Yep.
Yeah, Lucas, go for it.
Yeah, so maintaining a lot of code is hard with like a limited number of people. And I, at the same time, I think to what Tristan has said, the existing adapters frameworks, custom adapters, etc. There's a huge amount of value that is being that is still that is in that community, and that we don't really see going away. So from the perspective of my team, and I think a lot of the people working on dbt adapters and dbt core today, yes, there's been a lot of investment in Fusion, but we also really want to make sure that the existing adapters frameworks, the existing custom adapters, etc., that they are still supported and invested in, because there are 60, 70,000 companies and DBT projects today that are using these things. So we are excited. We see these things as complementary, right? To me, Fusion is an evolution of DBT. It's not a replacement, and that is how I would like to sort of approach the development of Fusion and the existing adapters as well. So we see this as one suite of systems rather than hey, now Fusion exists, we like end of life DBT core. Like it's not going to happen, and I think that's also not the viewpoint that any of us here take.
Yeah, I mean, just to put a really fine point on that, the data community across the world has put a tremendous amount of trust in DBT Labs by maintaining their data infrastructure, and we intend to show up and continue earning that trust. If you look at the roadmap post from yesterday about how we're going to continue earning that trust, you're going to see us there day in, day out, as you have, working to keep these things working and getting improved for you. Okay, so we're coming up pretty close on time. There's a whole lot of questions here. I want to ask Lukas. Lukas, you just did what some would call a remarkably ambitious launch. Some might call it a bit of a crazy thing that you did over the past 5 months. How are you feeling? Walk us through the journey of getting to here.
Yeah, it has felt like a marathon, but we've been sprinting the marathon, which is always fun. But I think I'm really, really excited, and the team is really excited. When we joined DBT, we didn't know exactly what parts of SDF were going to remain, or exactly how the integration was going to go. I think maybe naively, but there's some assumption here that what we were going to do is take some components of SDF and inject them into DBT. And then there was this series of very interesting conversations about, hey, if we had that chance, to from the ground up take all of the magic of DBT, but rewrite it using first principles in a way that sort of scales for the next decade or 2 decades, what does that software look like? And having had the privilege to sort of imagine what the capabilities are, what the design should be, what the needs of data developers are, it's been really, really gratifying to see how everything has sort of come together and come to fruition. I'm happy about a lot of the decisions that we made on the adapter side. I think adopting Arrow front to back is going to provide enormous ecosystem-wide benefits for DBT. So yeah, I mean, really, if we just think about it, DBT Fusion is Arrow and uses the Arrow type system from the adapters, from the drivers through the adapters into the core engine itself. And every component of that is the same single optimized data structure. It means that we can guarantee levels of consistency and performance that we could never deliver before. So the team is really, really excited about this, and I'm really excited to see what comes next. I kind of look at yesterday and the launch as the start, not the end of this project. And we're already getting so much extraordinary feedback that I'm just kind of excited to get back at it and hopefully deliver some goodness over the next months and years.
Awesome. Tristan, any final thoughts? You muted, perhaps?
I'm reading about Pio 3. Carlos asked an awesome question that I was just like, I don't even know what Pio 3 is.
We have. Oh, sorry. I had also read this. Okay. Yes. Okay. There's the Rust to Python universe is extraordinary. It is such a good pipeline. You get a lot of the benefits of speed and performance in Rust with the ease of use from the Python ecosystem. You can look at UV, you can look at polars, you can look at like a dozen different tools. We have a prototype of this. We just have been spending so much effort on integrating, getting Fusion out the door that we haven't built the bindings yet. So there is, as part of what I talked about earlier with data frames and working with SQL-like objects natively in Python, there's also this beautiful question of, hey, can we actually interface with DBT-like projects natively from Python? And that is what PyO3 would, and a PyO3 adapter would be able to provide. The surface area for DBT is quite large, so it is an undertaking. It's not something that is as is super simple to do, but I would love to have the opportunity to do that, because that opens up a whole nother ecosystem, and all of a sudden you can start working with DBT in a way that looks a lot more like PySpark or the Spark interfaces, but for any type of data warehouse. So awesome question, and I would love to invest in this more. And
Carlos, you also asked about contributing to the BigQuery and maybe Trino adapters. I would just say hop on DBT Slack and get in touch, and we'll funnel you in the right direction.
Find me on DBT Slack. I will point you where you need to go.
Awesome. Yeah, so many great questions. Definitely a bunch more here, a bunch more to talk through in the coming days, weeks, months. We are running up on time here. I just want to say tremendous thank you to everyone that joined today, to everyone that tried DBT Fusion Engine, to everyone that's been asking questions, that's been giving feedback. Thank you all so much for doing this. Truly, it's what makes this all great. Would love to hear from you in the community Slack. See you at we're doing the DBT World Circuit meetup tour. We got Lukas out in Seattle. We got me in New York. Tristan, we got to get you on one of those. And we've got events in 22 cities over the next month, and there's more to come from there. So we are here to talk to you, to hear your thoughts, to work with you, and keep building great things together. So thank you all for coming out today, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you all again soon.
Amazing. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Bye.